script and ideation, an example or a solid example of that was when Disney announced that, the new live action for Hercules was going to be specifically inspired by TikTok, all right? So that means they're getting people's concept of Hercules directly from TikTok. So they're speaking to a community. What that means is that when they eventually release this particular content, there's a community already waiting to receive, ready waiting to pay to watch that content, because there's the idea that they were part of the creation process. Now, we move from script and ideation to onboarding. You've thought of your movie. For example, your movie is, give me a very basic movie to use, example. Okay, so, yeah, your movie is Barbie. You've thought about your movie, all right? So now, who do you think should feature in your movie, Who are the actors you think should feature in your movie? Is it Aki and Popo? Is it, Angelina Jolie? Whoever that might be. So now you will onboard those people through casting processes, through, reviews and, talking to them. And when you onboard those people to become part of the production, have it in mind that these people are also elements to further boost how your content is received in the society. Say, for example, you're picking a Trisha Khalid on a particular movie that is specific to her niche. And we all know that she already has her community. So if you put her on your movie, you need to, take from that community into what you have, all right? So when onboarding her, you shouldn't do it like it's some top secrets. When she's onboarded, she can then announce that, we're bringing Barbie Kenya to, the cinema near you in Nairobi. So that process is a bit of marketing. So what it does is it teases people, and they are anticipating and waiting for that content when it eventually, gets released. After the onboarding, obviously we already have the casting. You could still go through the process of, showing how these specific characters were picked, why they were picked. Why are you picking this particular person for this particular role? What are the traits, tenets, and characterizations of these people that is making you put them in your content? So once you have that already here, you can push them to, you can create content around the casting process as well. That is also part of marketing on TikTok. Let's go to the production, bit. I think the production bit is usually very popular. The next slide. Is usually very popular because a lot of us, we see that a lot. When a movie is in production, we get to see what's happening. We get to see how these things are created. We get to see behind the scenes. And I would really love if we're in the next slide, please. Thank you. Yeah, I was talking about behind the scenes. Yeah. So there are different content you can see on BTS. And again, what BTS does is that it endears you to the movie. I'll take an example. Avatar, the live action for Avatar, The Last Airbender. How many of us have seen the live action for Avatar, The Last Airbender? Oh my God, just me. Oh, okay. I thought I was a nerd. That was close. Yeah, so personally, I was worried that they were going to get it wrong, all right? I was really worried that, because it's an animation that we've seen when we were younger, and we felt connected to that particular animation. And now they've announced that there's going to be a live action for Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm already thinking, and I'm worried about how the concept of Appa, the concept of The Last Airbender, the concept of all the different elements put together would look like in a live action. But what Netflix did was to bring this specific, this worry in my head on TikTok for me to, better understand and see the processes. The way they, made the city of, the last city of The Last Airbenders, the way they cleared all of them, everything. The way they used green screen and where they use, special effects and all of those things. What that did is I saw the efforts in which they put behind the production, and it endeared me better to the movie generally. So if you're creating content and you're creating a film per se, when you put your BTS out there on TikTok especially, you get to, bring in new community, new people who perhaps had no idea that this particular idea existed in the first place. Next slide. All right. Now, once you've done the BTS, you've done everything, we're going into marketing and distribution, which is actually very important. So what most people do is they focus really on marketing and distribution, and most times what we see is that it's like an afterthought. So say, for example, you want to release a movie, you didn't think about TikTok whilst you were creating said movie, because at the end of the day, now you want eyeballs. Now you want people to see that you've created this piece of content. Now you want to sell out all the cinema halls. You want to sell out tickets. But now what you're putting out on TikTok is a 16:9 dimension, which is not native to TikTok, which is native to other platforms but not TikTok. That way, it looks sketchy. It doesn't look professional. It looks like the movie is not clear or clean enough. You're not able to pass across the message of the content you are trying to sell. At the end of the day, you would most likely not gain as much as you thought you would. So what I'm trying to say in essence is, when creating a content, movie, short film, feature film, whatever the genre might be, you should have social media marketing at the back of your head. You should have TikTok at the back of your head whilst creating the content. It shouldn't be an afterthought that, yeah, let's create TikTok content to promote the movie. When you already had, people on set and a full real estate that you could have created a number of content about and on and share on TikTok, which would have given you more traction and build your community before you release your film. So people get it wrong by waiting to the end and now posting the trailer and expecting magic to happen at the box office. It doesn't work that way. All right? So we have when you get to this juncture, you create your trailer, you put it out there, you go for your premiere, you shoot your red carpet content, because everything is still part of marketing. It's essential that you touch all the hot spots of marketing, because that way you're able to reach as many people as possible. And then there's another element to creating movie and creating films, which is the soundtrack, all right? There's several movies that their soundtracks embed you to the film. For example, Sound of Music. A lot of us might still remember some of the songs from Sound of Music, maybe whilst we were little, when our parents watched those movies. For the younger generations, or from my set, we have High School Musical. A lot of us still remember, some of the sound, some of the music that was used on that particular film. For the generation after me, I think, is Glee. Glee, yeah. So a lot of us still remember the soundtracks from that particular, show. So what this does is that it gives a different element to the content you are producing. All right. So what song are you using in your film? Who is producing said song? How is the production of that sound going to have an impact on the film you're producing? So those are the questions you need to ask yourself, especially in the ideation phase, and how you're going to be able to use the soundtrack to proper market your content. Because at the end of the day, you want more eyeballs, you want to build a community that would pay to see your movie. Because if you really think about it, the world, as we know, is in a very, challenging state whereby everybody, before I bring out money from my pocket, before I bring out 1,000 Kenyan shilling or whatever the cinema price might be here to pay for your movie, I need to, be certain that I'm going to get value if I walk into the cinema to see that movie. And how else can you best, tell me that I'm going to get value for my money if you're not marketing properly on TikTok or showing me tits and bits and snippets of how I can enjoy, paying a movie ticket to see your movie, all right? So these are some of the things and elements you need to put together when creating and when producing and when, you want to have a go-to-market plan. The go-to-market plan has a long cycle that has to be integrated on TikTok as well. The next slide, please. All right, cool. So part of marketing and distribution is a whole lot, all right? So it's not just throwing out the trailer, or, doing some BTS type content. You also have to do educational content around it. I remember vividly when the Barbie marketing started, there was a lot of educational content to try to explain to people, the evolution of Barbie, how it came about, the concept of pink, which is essential because we need to understand why everything is pink. You get me? So those educational content pieces better informed people who were probably not fans of Barbie in the first place. They were not fans of Barbie, but now they understand why Barbie is Barbie and why they should go watch Barbie in the movie at the cinemas. So educational content pieces, Q&A, fan engagement, and teasing. Those are some of like the elements, the content elements that you can use to further amplify your content. The next slide, please. Also, if you're an established publisher or publishing house or filmmaker, and you already have similar content that is close to the content you're trying to create, I'll tell you that evergreen content really does well on TikTok. Just like I was talking about Sound of Music just now, and I saw some heads being nodded, because eventually when you stumble on a content around Sound of Music, you would be engaged because there's the nostalgia that it injects into you, and it brings back memories. So what nostalgic content does is to drive more visibility to the account you want to post said production that you aim to release very soon or on a specific date. So using nostalgic content, reproducing it properly in order to fit the TikTok dimension is a very essential way that you can further market your content before release. Next slide, please. All right. So it's broken down. Sorry if I'm rushing, because I'm trying to run down, because the time is almost up. So it's broken down like this. This is a snapshot of what you should be thinking about when producing your content. You can have a moment to, take a picture or have it at the back of your head, So when you're creating film, when you're creating content, think about it this way. Teaser, which is one of the first pillars you need to think about. Your marketing goal here is to, create anticipation, ignite conversation, awareness. Everybody needs to talk about this particular movie. It needs to be the talk of town. Just recently, in Nigeria, one of the filmmakers, Funke Akindele specifically, hit over 1 billion naira, which is the first Nigerian movie to hit that particular number at the cinema. If you check properly, you'd see that everything she did as regards marketing that particular movie is live on TikTok. She created a buzz around it. The title of the movie is called A Tribe Called Judah. And for the love of God, I had no idea what that movie was about. However, I knew the name, and knowing the name, when you walk into a cinema, that particular movie is top of mind. So if it's top of mind, that's most likely the movie I would like to see and spend my money on, all right? So she already had this whole marketing strategy really hashed and well put together in such a way that you would not miss A Tribe Called Judah. You would know A Tribe Called Judah. At some point, it would be as though you've seen the movie, but actually you haven't seen the movie. And there were no spoilers until you got into the cinema to really see what the movie is about. So it's essential for you to have that full scope, that plan, before you hit the markets. It's very essential for you to have a full scope of how you want your movie to be projected into the society. Building a community around your movie prior is actually the best way for you to take advantage of, what TikTok has to offer. As I was saying, go back. Thank you. So it's awareness, all right? Then countdown to the launch. So you need to build some, anticipation. You get what I mean? Yeah. Anticipation, engagement considerations, and all of those things. And then you launch, which is your main point. Conversion engagement as well. So when we're talking about launch, we're talking about exclusive scenes, snippets, BTS, and the likes. Then you have to engage fans, because you don't just drop your movie and I'm done. No, that's not how it works. You need to engage fans. You need to do Q&A and understand how the fans are reacting to specific scenes and specific plot twists. Create engage creators, especially, Mary Kenya is here. She's going to talk about your movie. June Claire is here as well. They're going to talk about your movie. And it's an opportunity for them to give you an honest opinion about your movie, because you need an outside eye to actually talk about your movie and not you alone. Because if it's you telling me my movie is good, I wouldn't believe you. But when I hear from, seasoned reviewers like Mary Kenya or June Claire, I then understand that, okay, I think there's something to this, all right? Now, the next slide. So I think in a snapshot, I've been able to take you through what the full production lifecycle is about and how you can integrate your full production lifecycle on TikTok. There are different strategies to this, actually. For example, I was speaking about the, Avatar The Last Airbender earlier. So what they did, if you see the production cycle, they walked backwards, all right? So they threw out the trailer, they did the teasers, and then they walked backward, and then they released casting videos, and then they released the process of scripting. They systematically drew people in. So even after the series was released, people were still engaged on TikTok. I can guarantee you for free. People were still engaged on TikTok about the BTS and the behind the scenes of how this particular show was created. And that hype, that, community that was built around that actually prompted, for them to, create a season 2 of that particular production. So it's that easy, all right? So I'm sure you have questions about integrating the full production lifecycle on TikTok. I'll answer that in just a moment. But first of all, let's go through the content best practices and how you can excel on TikTok. Like I said earlier, what I do on a day-to-day is content editorials, like specialization, editorialization, and understanding behind the trends, understanding what is making, what's spiking in the ecosystem, and how these contents are being received or created in each market across sub-Saharan Africa. All right. So, TikTok is native to 9:15 aspect ratio. What that means is when you are shooting your content, what you should think about is the portrait mode. TikTok content are shot on portrait mode, all right? So that means holding your camera like this and not like this. So basically, if you really want to have an original looking type content on TikTok, you need to think about this when creating your content. Do not shoot with a 16:9, shoot with a 9:16. I'm sure the technicalities of that would, settle in with most filmmakers. So, but essentially, in basic term, you shoot portraits and not landscape. Now, for filmmakers who already, you have to shoot landscape. It makes no sense. I've never gone to a cinema where movies were, shown in I'm sure that doesn't exist. However, if you're creating content specifically for TikTok, when you are doing your production process, you can still integrate a zoom in effect in order to be specific on the characters and action so that it fits the frame when you post the content on TikTok. So it's not understandable for you to say, because you shot in landscape, you just have to post the content like that on TikTok. If it doesn't do well, that has nothing to do with anybody but yourself, because you didn't post what's native to TikTok. All right? So, shooting in-app and using trending creative tools and effects to ensure, native feel. Just like I was saying earlier, June Claire is a perfect example. So in her house, she sits, watches a series, I told you I knew you. She sits, watch a movie, watch a series, and then she turns on her camera to review said movie. So what she does is, she turns on the green screen on TikTok. So there's a green screen. So that way you understand what she's talking about. So if she's talking about, say, Real Housewives of Nairobi, you can follow the story. Why? Because there's a picture of somebody from Real House of Nairobi on the background. So now when she's talking and she's making references, June Claire is speaking about Real Housewives of Nairobi. That way, it's easier for your community, your followers, your audience to be engaged and follow your content. All right? It's very important that you also follow community guidelines, which is very, very important, because you don't want your content to be taken down. You shouldn't be posting content around nudity, content that are putting people down as well. So Be careful and mindful of the type of content you post because you don't want to impact the community. TikTok is a community that inspires creativity and bring joy. So if you're inspiring creativity and bringing joy, you don't want to do stuff that will make people feel depressed, feel unhappy, feel unwanted in the community. And definitely, our safety team would definitely look at your content as something that is oppressive to the community and take it down. All right? So you can collaborate as well. So what collaboration looks like is you partnering with another creator to, do a specific content. For example, here in the Kalasha, I'm giving you guys expo here in the Kalasha Awards. So June Claire and Mary Kenya, you guys can do sync contents together. June Claire post, Mary Kenya post. That's people getting content just because they're going to interact with each other. At the end of the day, you've gotten content from a particular event you both went to, all right? So try to collaborate. It's important that you collaborate. It's important that you meet people, you integrate. So it's not just you all the time. It'd be nice if we see some other people. Experiment with formats as well. So what this means is the more you post, the better you'll be able to understand what resonates with your audience best. Sometimes when you post content about, Hollywood movies, do they do well? When you post content around Hollywood movies, do they really do well? If you check your insights, you'd see the type of content that do well, the type of content that people are quick to, comment or engage on. So also, always be mindful that your content doesn't overlap with the UI. TikTok recommends a safe space to avoid this. So as you can see, yeah, that's the safe zone. So whatever text or, whatever you want to put out there, you need to factor this safe zone there so that your text is not hidden below our UI or below your username, which just makes your content, not so good. Yeah. All right. Some of the best practices, again, is start strong, all right? So some content, when you see them on TikTok, the person says, hello, everybody. The energy is not really there, so I'm definitely not going to stay on that content. So you need to bring a level of energy that will be able to keep people, all right? So there are different hooks that you'll be able to, hold people through, and so you have better retention, You need to grab your audience's attention within the first 3 seconds. And essentially, I'm not talking about TikTok, I'm talking about content marketing generally. If you can't have an instantly uplifting moment in the first 7 seconds of your video, that video is not going to do well. If the first 7 seconds of your video is not instantly impactful for whoever is watching it, they are not going to gain anything and they would probably, slide or, move through, okay? So it's important that you grab your audience attention within the first 3 seconds. Also, target trending moments, all right? There's different trends happening. You see different things happening. Think about your niche. How does this trend, how can you bring this trend into your niche? How can you break it down into granular form that people in your niche can now understand the trend and still you're not sauntering away or sauntering too far from what you like to post, all right? Post often. I can't tell you how many times you need to post in a week, but post often, all right? So hashtags and tagging, yeah, they work. Just like Felicitas was saying earlier, you shouldn't be posting with hashtags that are not relevant to the content. It doesn't make sense. It's just like, someone traveling to Nairobi, and then in the hashtag, it says visiting Lagos. Ideally, if you know the algorithm is not going to be able to understand how to distribute said content, it makes no sense, absolutely. You get what I mean? So for you to hold your audience, all right, the hashtag needs to be specific to what you're posting. For example, earlier, when Jeff was introducing everybody, he said the hashtag Kalasha is on the screen, right? Jeff, am I right? They're still on the screen. So what that means is when you're posting content around or about Kalasha on TikTok, you should use the hashtag that is specific to Kalasha, which makes more sense because you can't be at Kalasha and using a hashtag that is different from the environment or different from the event you attended. It makes absolutely no sense, and your content would most likely not do well. There are people who didn't make it here for this particular workshop that would go on TikTok to look for content about the workshop to see how the workshop went, and when they search for Kalasha Film Festival and the likes and all the other keywords that match this particular event, your content will pop up. Why? Because you're posting with a specific, hashtag. And you can also use the location, KICC. Now we're big on trying to make people use the location they are so that when people are checking for destinations or checking for locations, they can also see your content as well. So when people are searching, for example, for content around KICC, there's a potential that your content might come up as well. Okay? So hold attention. Keep content engaging by asking and inviting, audience to engage. However, trying to hold, your audience attention, there's something you should be careful about, which is clickbait, all right? So do not tell me about something or tell me something is going to happen at the end, and when I get to the end, I don't see anything. I'll be mad, I'm angry because I've seen a lot of those type of content. So do not tell me that something's going to happen at the end, and at the end of the day, I don't see anything at the end. What that does is I'll be unhappy with your content. Whatever content that I come across that has to do with you, I'm most likely not going to watch it because I assume you just want attention. You're a clout chaser. You are all about clickbait, all right? So try as much as possible to be honest with your content. If something is going to happen at the end, be truthful and make something happen at the end. All right? Next slide. So this is how you do your story structure. All right? So there's the possibility that you want to front load. What does that mean? This is the most interesting, attention-grabbing bit of information that will stop a user from scrolling away from your video. Funny thing is, the first content that comes to my head is there's a trending content in Nigeria where someone just runs from nowhere and says, wait, before you start your day, let me pray for you. It grabs my attention, because everyone wants prayer, right? But we're not very sure of where his prayer is coming from. However, he got my attention already. So you need to look for what your hook is, how to be able to, get people to stop scrolling, You need to get them to, pause and take a look at your content. Think of it like a teaser or a cold open in a crime TV show. The writer shows you just enough before the first commercial break to get you to come back, and that's essentially it. So when you're watching TV series like, what example should I give now? Game of Thrones, they're definitely not going to kill Jon Snow in the opening scene. However, they will hint at the possibility that he might die. However, when they killed him, they rose him up. I don't know what that means because, they just scattered that script. But think of that when you're creating your content. You need to be able to hook people in and make them watch to the end. All right? So another thing I should touch on just before I step off, I've overused my time, is 1 minute plus or long format, yeah? So for us at TikTok, we've noticed that long format actually works well on the platform. So there used to be a myth about your content needs to be very short, your content needs to be, very, very sharp in order for it to do well, but that's not really the case most times because long format actually does well. So don't be scared to post content that are longer than a minute, 2 minutes, as long as your storyline is worth watching and waiting for. Some of us here, we do scripted drama. You could shoot vertical scripted drama and post on TikTok and definitely get your audience retained. The next slide. Or am I done? Yeah. So I think I went ahead of myself to, introduce some things. But here are some of the content formats you can use on TikTok. Go ahead to take a snapshot so you can keep it on your phone and visit it once you want to do, whatever content you want to do. All right? So yes, definitely short form content. Fast, snappy, straight to the point, below a minute. All right? You've said what needs to be said. Your audience have heard you and they're gone. All right? So that's essentially, what I'm trying to say is, as content creators, your content format shouldn't be, linear or stipulated to one specific format. Explore all the formats, use your content and your niche to like explore different formats and think about, for example, I'm sorry I'm calling you too much, Mary Kenya. So for example, think about your content and what that looks like in a long form video. What does that look like? Does that mean I have to sit down and give you plot for plot, blow for blow of what happened in the movie Barbie? Is that what it looks like? How do I retain my follower or my audience to, stay to the end of the video? Those are some of the things you need to think about. So when you do short form content, you can also do long form content. So your audience, they're entertained because there's a diversity in the formats that you bring out, all right? You can also go live, all right? So when I say go live, I don't mean follow for follow. I don't. Well, you can also go live, especially you go live and say, hey, I'm at the Kalasha Awards. Come, let me take you behind the scenes and let me show you some of the people that work at TikTok that refuse to make your videos blow. They're there, by the way. So you can do that, all right? What this does is you engage your audience. You're giving your audience a variety of your personality. And remember, you're the one shining here. It's your personality, it's your aura, and that's why the people are following you. So when you keep giving them a variety, they will be, they stay, all right? I know and I'm sure that there are people who have best foods. For example, say your best food is ugali. I mean, I tried that a couple days ago, and it's nice. Say your best food is ugali, your best meal in life is ugali. You cannot eat ugali every day. It's not possible, right? So at some point, you might use, you might mix it up, try plantain, try spaghetti, try the best jollof rice in the world, which is Nigeria jollof. Some of those things. You may just mix it to make it feel, to make people feel involved in your content, all right? So when you do live, go live, maybe you're going for an event, you're going for a premiere, you're going for a fashion show, whatever that might be, whatever that might look like in your life, you can go live and, engage your audience. Then there's the stories. You possibly do not want your content to be, a specific content to be on your page for too long. You can use stories, which is short and instant. There's photo mode now on TikTok, so you can post pictures, a slide of pictures on TikTok. There's a red carpet at the back there, so I'm sure we've been taking beautiful pictures. You can have these beautiful pictures as a slide and post them on TikTok as well. So these are the various content formats that you can use to diversify your content on TikTok. Next slide. All right. So this bit is about content co-creation. So what you can do, just like I was talking about collaboration earlier. So say, for example, Showmax posts a new trailer, and you want to react to the trailer. So you can duet their post. So when you duet their post, you react real time to the content that they posted on their platform. You can stitch videos as well. I'm sure a lot of us, we stitch content, we stitch content from that are already posted and put our own reactions at the end. Then there's, we all know hashtags, which is essential. Just like I was saying earlier, it's very essential. The fact that you are in Kalasha means there are content being posted with the hashtag Jeff said earlier about Kalasha on TikTok. So why not use that specific hashtag so that your content can have the visibility that it deserves, all right? Then there's filters. So creation tools on TikTok is like one of the best opportunities for you to be able to, make your content look good and flashy. When you can use special effects to maybe look good better, or join a specific challenge. It could be the Big Brother. This one is the BB Titans effect. So you could use effects to play with your face. For filmmakers, you can engage creation tools artists to create effect about your movies. So that way, the content that is coming up, that is being posted about your movie, is not linear, it's diversified. So you can, as much as possible, have different content pieces that people would be engaged with. Then there's comments. You can reply to a comment with a video, all right? So if there's a comment in your video, you can reply with a video, and that way, you've created another piece of content that has the potential to go viral. Next slide, sorry. Yes. So, with these few points of mine, I hope I've been able to convince you and not to confuse you on why, first, you should integrate the full production life cycle of your, content or, movie coming up on TikTok, and how the best practices would help give you more visibility. I'll be passing the baton back to Felicitas as she takes us on protecting your IP. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chidi. We are coming to the close of our presentation. This will be very short. I know when we started, I talked about, watching part 1 up to part 50, on TikTok. And as a content creator, you're wondering, as TikTok, then how do we protect your property, your intellectual property, right? So you're creating content. June, for example, you're creating content. And I'm a person who has realized June does not know her potential. So let me steal her content and actually upload it as my own, create a nice TikTok account, and get all these fantastic views. And then one day, I just change and go back to Felicitas, right? So we are aware that there are people who are creating these accounts and basically taking, other content that does not belong to them and upload to them. And upload to their platforms. This is us letting you know that as TikTok, we care about you as content creators, and we have taken measures and put measures in place to make sure that your content is protected on the platform. Next slide. So it's 2 slides, basically, right? So number 1, if you look at our community guidelines and our terms of service, we do not allow posting, sharing, or sending of any content that violates or infringes upon another party's copyright, trademarks, or other IP, okay? So for us as TikTok, we have you covered. But then, next slide, what do you need to do as a content creator? We have ways in which you can report within the app, yeah? And if you know me, you know people in, yeah? Or anyone here, you've held their hand and whatnot, you can tell them, listen, there is someone who is taking my content and is posting. How will you help me report this account? So within the app, right, there are 2 ways to report. The first one is you can report an account that is actually impersonating you, right? So you go to their profile, the 3 dots at the top there, click there, share it, report the account, right? But then there are people who are clever. They're like, okay, let me not just take June's content and pretend to be June. I can be June, I can be Mary, I can be Chidi. I'm just stealing all this content because let's say it's viral, right? And I want to grow my page very quick, okay? The other way you can go on about it is if you go to the video as well and then click report this video, and it will give you options on what are you reporting it for. And it applies to, in addition to like copyright infringement as well, if you feel like someone has gotten on the platform and is bullying you or is doing the wrong thing on the platform, you can actually basically report the account. All these are things you can find within the app, and it will help you, protect yourself, protect your content, and make sure that the platform is safe for everyone. And we have come to the close of our presentation. Jeff, let me know if I can take 1, 2 questions.
You could take 2 questions max, very quickly. The rest of our part, because we're having a break after that.
Okay.
Hands for questions?
He has a question.
Okay, so start from here.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
My name is Lewis. You've touched on everything, but you've not mentioned about monetization. That is, I think most people who are joining TikTok, they know that TikTok iko na pesa, but you've not mentioned about it because I just clocked in around 1,500 followers and I got a notification about monetization. At the same time, I did not get to understand what levels have I attained to get this money now. Yes, could you maybe touch a bit of monetization?
So we'll do both of those questions quickly as we wrap up. There was another hand this side of the room. Primrose, you're already on stage. Let me just go come down the room. We'll have a short break. You can talk to the team there. There's a lady here.
Good afternoon. Mine is on the intellectual property. I would like to ask with regards to stealing other people's content rather. Why is it that the use of another person's sound or reposting other people's videos is not regarded as infringement of someone else's copyright?
Okay. All right.
Okay, those two, and we bring it to a close.
All right. So I'll start with a question. Yes, we were anticipating the question on monetization. Firstly, to answer that question, TikTok is currently, like what you're describing, the TikTok Creator Fund, unfortunately, it's currently not monetized in Africa. Okay? That's the first part to that answer. But are creators making money on the platform? Yes, they are. How are they making money? He talked about you going live with your content. You're aware that when you go live, if you said you have 1,500, right? Now you're able to actually go live and create your content on the live and have people gift you. So that is one of the ways that you can make money. The second way, and why we are here as a team, as a whole team, is through the TikTok Creator Program. So our jobs really involve identifying creators who are doing really well on the platform. Yeah? And really well, remember, does not mean number of followers. It's the kind of content you're creating. I started with June. How many followers were you when I onboarded? Yes, it was like on the lower side, right? But the fact that she was creating film reviews and other things, like really good content around film and TV, she qualified to be part of the creator program. And what we do is work with creators and publishers and show them how to create content in general. Remember, I said TikTok is not the algorithm is not built on a social graph, it's built on a content graph. So basically what that means, we also do not identify as a social media platform, we identify as a content platform, okay? So we work with creators like June, and you can take her on the side and ask her whether she has made money through TikTok. She has actually made money through TikTok because we do have partners, for example. I'll talk about the most recent thing we did, which was the Oscars, where we had the Oscars viewing party. Last year, we had an opportunity to send a creator all the way to Hollywood, and attend the show. We paid for everything. So that's basically one of the ways that we work with creators. We onboard them to the TikTok Creator Program, and whenever there's opportunity, if there's brands who want to work with creators, we act as the connection between the creator and the brand. And then lastly, we help you grow your account. June, do you want to step up here and tell people how many brand deals you've gotten? Yeah, that's what we do. Aziad, everyone knows her story. What you don't see is the work that we actually put in to grow these accounts to where they're now, they have wings to fly. Yeah, they get all these deals and whatnot. So that's how we are doing it. In the meantime, as we wait to see the point at which they will roll out the creator fund that you're talking about. I hope that answers your question. And then you asked about reposting and whether it's considered copyright infringement. It is actually considered copyright infringement. So you're not allowed to repost other people's content, okay? What Chidi talked about was duetting and stitching. So you can take a video from StarTimes, not download it and upload it. I mean, get it on the platform, duet that video, and then it appears on your end with you giving like additional views, right? But you're not allowed to basically take a video, download it, and then re-upload it as your own. So what will happen is if the owner of that piece of content that you've downloaded reports you, even though you are my best creator, I will be like, yeah, please take that down. She's doing the wrong thing. Yeah. So if you look at the community guidelines, they literally give details on what you're supposed to do as a content creator, the guidelines you're supposed to follow. So it is actually considered copyright infringement. Thank you.
Another round of applause for the team. Thank you so much, Felicitas. Thank you so much, Chidi, who's also doubling up as the Nigerian jollof rice ambassador. He had to plug it in right there. I see what you did. Another applause for them again. Nice work. What we'll do at this point is take a short health break, 10 minutes, stretch a bit. Of course, they said they're all here. You have marked them. Some of you couldn't get your questions into them. You can do that for the next 10 minutes. Then we reconvene for the next session, which is all about investment in film infrastructure. How do you get that money in? What infrastructure is needed? That happens in 10 minutes. So let's take a quick health break. Let's stretch. Let's network for just a bit. Reconvene at 3:35. See you then.